What if I told you this entire garden was built from trash? Not just one planter, not just a few bottles, but everything you're about to see, fruit trees, borders, towers, beds, was made from forgotten junk. And yet, it looks like something from a hidden European village. This is Backyard Fortune, where we turn the unexpected into the unforgettable. In today's video, I'll walk you through a garden so magical, you'll want to grab your own trash pile and start tomorrow. Timestamps are listed below, so feel free to skip to the parts that speak to you most. And as always, leave a comment if you have questions. Let's grow something magical together. Glass Wonderland borders. They said it couldn't be done, that broken glass, discarded dishes, and chipped teacups belonged in the trash. But somewhere in the heart of Europe, a garden whispers otherwise. Here, sunlight dances on the edges of old green bottles, catching the curves of mirror shards and vintage porcelain. What once cluttered kitchen cabinets now lines the garden's borders, transformed into walls of wonder. Each curve in the mosaic fence tells a quiet story, a plate that once held birthday cake, a cup that once comforted someone on a rainy afternoon. These are not just recycled materials, they are fragments of memory, brought to life again by patient hands and imagination. In the first image, you'll notice how mismatched teacups and antique saucers are embedded beside glass jars and mirrors, like a parade of forgotten treasures suddenly proud of their second chance. Lavender sways just behind the border, its soft purple bloom glowing against the glass like nature and art clasping hands. This isn't just garden decor, it's therapy, it's reflection. It's beauty grown from what we often overlook. Now look at the second garden. Simplicity reigns. Carefully arranged, half-moon shapes rise from crushed glass mosaics, forming a neat, repeating rhythm that hugs the flower beds. Greens and silvers shimmer beside a tidy path of gravel, guiding the eye and grounding the space. It's clean, it's calming, and above all, it's possible. This is a DIY design you can try, using broken mirror tiles, glass scraps, and a bit of cement. You don't need perfection. You need patience and trust in the process. And then, the final image. It's like a river of light flowing through dark, fertile soil. Broken mirror and green glass pieces line the garden rows, framing fresh herbs that peek cheerfully through the gaps. Thyme, oregano, perhaps even young basil, growing stronger each day as light reflects down, warming the soil and the soul. Birds perch quietly nearby, fruit hangs lazily from a tree, and nothing here feels forced. The garden simply exists, brilliant, humble, and full of life. If you're wondering how to begin your own glass wonderland, start small. Save a few jars, a cracked dish. Sketch a simple curve or spiral. Work slowly. Let your garden grow as your design grows. You don't need to rush magic. It will bloom in its own time. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about turning trash into treasure. It's about reminding ourselves that even in brokenness, there is beauty waiting to emerge, especially when bathed in sunlight, rooted in soil, and surrounded by flowers. So don't throw it away just yet. That broken glass might just be the beginning of your most enchanting garden story. Botanical bottle blooms. Somewhere behind a white picket fence, under the mellow warmth of a European spring, something quiet and magical is growing. From the outside, it looks like a dream, a row of herbs, flowers, and vegetables smiling toward the sun. But look closer, and you'll find that these blooms aren't planted in designer pots or raised beds. They are cradled in bottles. Plastic ones. The kind that often ends up tossed, forgotten, floating in rivers or buried beneath soil. Yet here, in this little garden corner, they've been given a second life, and it's a beautiful one. The first image feels like a cheerful song. Recycled bottles, cut into soft tulip shapes and painted in pastel hues, hang delicately along a white fence. Basil, oregano, rosemary, they peek through the top, lush and fragrant. Their roots reach into rich soil held steady by the curved plastic base. A tomato vine stretches up nearby, its fruit ripening under the gaze of the morning sun. Bees hover in curiosity. It's simple. It's pure. It's proof that beauty doesn't always come with a price tag. And yet, practicality dances behind the poetry. This vertical garden saves space, perfect for those with small patios, balconies, or even just a bare wall. All you need is twine, a few clean bottles, a sharp cutter, and soil. Let the rain water them, let the sunlight guide them. That's all it takes. Now step into the second image. You're under a canopy of grapevines, where ripe clusters hang like living chandeliers. Beneath them, dozens of large plastic bottles are suspended by rope, each one transformed into a hanging planter. Marigolds and daisies bloom inside, their colors echoing the fruit above. The scene is playful, almost theatrical. But it's also genius. This is how you make shade work for you. This is how you turn an unused pergola into a floating flower garden. Every bottle is a cradle, every bloom a celebration of reuse. And then, there's the final picture. A humble wooden shelf rests beneath a pear tree, and on it? A long parade of plastic bottles, sliced and planted with mint, thyme, sage, and more. Butterflies flit around, drawn to the scent. This is not a display, it's a living pantry. An herb garden you can touch, smell, cook from. Everything grown with your own hands, nurtured in what others might call waste. The truth is, DIY gardening like this doesn't require much. Not money. Not perfection. Only intention. A willingness to look at what you already have and ask, what can I grow from this? So save your bottles. Rinse them clean. Cut them with care. Paint them if your heart wants color, or leave them bare if you prefer the glow of transparency. Fill them with soil. Add a seed, a sprig, a tiny start. Watch it grow. Water when needed. Harvest gently. Smile often. This is not just gardening. It's restoration. It's self-expression. And perhaps most of all, it's a quiet kind of joy that anyone, anywhere, can create. You don't need acres of land to plant beauty. Sometimes, all you need is what's already in your recycling bin and a little bit of light. Three rustic charmers. When the world moves too fast, some of us choose to slow down, with our hands in the soil, surrounded by birdsong and the soft clinking of old tin. In this garden, nothing is wasted. Here, rusted cans are not thrown away, they are treasured. Painted in soft pastels and strung gently under a wooden arch, they sway like wind-borne blossoms. Ivy curls from the sides, petunias reach out as if to greet you, and bees buzz with quiet happiness. The colors are muted, but the feeling is vibrant. This is where forgotten metal meets blooming life. And it's so simple to create. Rinse your old food cans, punch a hole for string or twine, and paint them in colors that make your heart smile. You don't need a plan. Just start with one, hang it, See where it leads. Gardens, like stories, grow in unexpected directions. As you move along the garden's edge, you'll find another kind of beauty, one that's quiet and intentional. A collection of cans has been wrapped with lace, burlap, and love. Each one rests carefully on wooden crates and stone steps, forming a little herbal apothecary. Rosemary, basil, parsley, the scents mix like a healing recipe whispered by the earth. Vines crawl along the brick wall behind them, and bunches of grapes hang low in the background, completing the picture of timeless charm. There's no pressure for perfection here. The cans don't match. The paint chips in places. But that's the secret. It's those gentle imperfections that make the garden feel alive, like it's been loved for years. Then comes the evening, and with it, the garden begins to glow. At dusk, the final image unfolds. Lanterns made from repurposed soup cans shimmer with candlelight. Their metal skins are pierced with delicate patterns, turning ordinary steel into lacework. The wind chimes beside them sing softly as sunflowers nod in approval nearby. It's a place where light flickers not just in flame, but in feeling. You sense peace here. Thoughtfulness. Magic that doesn't shout, but hums. To recreate something like this, you don't need expensive tools. Just patience. Just imagination. A nail, a hammer, a little string, and something from your recycle bin. Maybe some lace. Maybe a kind word from a neighbor. Maybe a bird's quiet song to guide you. Gardening, after all, is not only about growing plants. It's about growing stories. And with every can, every bloom, every breeze that passes through, this garden tells a tale worth listening to. Fort Clay Brick Garden Trails. Some paths aren't meant to be rushed. They meander, gently, as if the earth itself is whispering, "Slow down. You're already home." That's what it feels like to walk through this garden. Beneath your feet, mismatched clay bricks form a graceful S-curve, laid not by machines, but by hand. Each brick carries its own character. Some are smooth, others cracked, many softened by time. Between them, moss rises like threads of green embroidery, stitching together a path that leads past lavender bushes humming with bees, and terracotta pots filled with lemon trees and strawberries soaking up the late afternoon sun. This isn't just a walkway. It's a ribbon of intention woven through a storybook scene. The charm of this kind of path lies in its honesty. The bricks don't pretend to match. They've been salvaged, repurposed, gathered from corners of old buildings or garden projects long forgotten. And yet here, in the heart of this blooming haven, they belong. Completely. With just a bit of patience, you can build one yourself. Start with a few bricks, don't worry about perfection. Let the curves come naturally. Let the gaps be filled with time and time, with moss or creeping thyme or even wildflowers if you wish. Every step you take will feel earned, grounded. As you move further in, the path changes, still brick, but now bolder. A herringbone pattern guides your eyes forward, straight toward a wooden pergola wrapped in vines. Hollyhocks rise tall on both sides, like guardians of an ancient garden gate. Their pinks and whites contrast with the deep green ivy, and butterflies hover as if unsure whether they've stumbled into a dream. This is the power of bricks. Not just structure, but story, texture, depth. And finally, you find yourself in a more practical part of the garden, still beautiful, but wonderfully alive with purpose. Ripe tomatoes spill from their stalks, zucchini rest quietly beneath large leaves, and the soil smells of dinner yet to be cooked. The bricks beneath your feet carry the imprint of names, stamps, fingerprints. It's as if every person who laid one left behind a small blessing. Even the birds feel at peace here. A pigeon tiptoes through the garden as if it owns the path, and maybe it does. If you ever doubted that a recycled brick could become something meaningful, this garden will convince you otherwise. It shows us that even the most forgotten materials can carry us somewhere beautiful. All it takes is patience, creativity, and a love for the slow, grounding rhythm of tending to the earth. So start your path, one step, one brick at a time. Let it curve. Let it tell your story. Five. Whimsical woodscapes. In some gardens, the magic doesn't bloom from the soil alone. It rises from old timber, forgotten stumps, and driftwood signs that seem to whisper your name. You don't need much to feel welcomed here. Just a plank of wood, carved with warmth, and propped gently on a mossy log. The sign says welcome, not just to guests, but to a slower way of living. A circle of benches made from reclaimed logs curves around a fire pit. It's not just a seating area, it's a gathering space, where stories are shared as mint leaves steep in tea, and laughter mingles with the sound of birdsong. This is the kind of corner that invites you to stay a little longer than you planned. And if you wander further, you'll find a path lined with chunky wooden blocks. Symbols of the moon and sun are etched into them, ancient and childlike all at once. They lead to a bench carved from a log, wheels at its base like a fairytale cart that's rolled to a stop in a bed of wildflowers. Above it, a birdhouse perches under an arch made of living wood, waiting patiently for its next guest. This scene isn't elaborate, yet it's unforgettable. There's something deeply comforting in the honesty of wood. Its textures, its imperfections, its quiet strength. Each piece is handcrafted, not manufactured. And that difference is something you can feel, especially when you sit on a log warmed by morning light, surrounded by blooms you planted yourself. Creating beauty like this isn't hard. It begins with what you already have, leftover timber, branches, maybe even old fence posts. Don't sand away every mark. Let the grain show. Let it remind you of storms survived and seasons past. And finally, tucked among fragrant herbs and chamomile flowers, you notice a wooden signpost that turns the garden into a map of imagination. One arrow points to Lavender Lane, another to Berry Hollow. Below it, an insect hotel built from twigs and drilled logs buzzes with life, gentle creatures making their homes in the spaces we've set aside for them. That, too, is part of the story. Because in this garden, even the smallest piece of wood has purpose. Even the most weathered plank can become a compass. A bench. A welcome. You don't need a plan. Just begin. Trust your hands. Trust the wood. And let your garden grow, not just in plants, but in soul. Six. Bamboo Grove Magic. There's something quietly enchanting about a garden that speaks the language of reuse, where each element, no matter how humble its origin, finds new purpose in a symphony of life. In a tucked-away corner of the countryside, a European-inspired garden breathes with the rhythm of earth and sunlight, entirely built from what others might have thrown away. In this garden, bamboo is not just a material, it's a melody. Reclaimed bamboo poles, once discarded or forgotten, have been gently transformed into curved fences that cradle clusters of tomatoes, crisp lettuce, and golden calendulas. The fence doesn't scream for attention, it whispers calm. Ivy curls tenderly around the slender posts, and tiny birds pause on the railing, as if drawn by the sincerity of the scene. There is no harshness here, only harmony between plant, wood, and sky. It feels like the kind of space where time slows down and everything, even the vegetables, seems to smile. Beyond the circular beds, a row of trellises stretches tall and light against the backdrop of a stone wall and a fruiting pear tree. The bamboo here becomes architecture, scaffolding for beans and sweet peas to climb, stretch, and reach toward the afternoon sun. Bound with twine and love, these frames tell the story of how structure can still feel soft and natural when it's guided by the hand of care. And when the wind moves through the leaves, it sounds like gratitude. In a sunlit garden corner, another kind of bamboo magic unfolds. Cut into smooth rings of varying height, the pieces are arranged as whimsical edging around a patch of herbs and flowers. Rosemary, marigolds, and strawberries grow like honored guests behind this handmade border. At the center, a bamboo ladder leans against an old tree, draped with vines and morning glories, an invitation to dream upward, perhaps to imagine a treehouse or a secret fairy door just out of sight. These aren't just fences or borders, they are quiet revolutions. Each bamboo piece, each knot of twine, each reused stalk reminds us that trash is often just treasure waiting to be noticed. That beauty doesn't need a budget, it needs vision. That sustainable gardening isn't about perfection, it's about presence. If you're feeling inspired to create your own garden sanctuary, start with what you have. Old bamboo, some string, a few seedlings, a corner of soil, and a bit of imagination. Let your hands build slowly, thoughtfully. Let the mistakes happen. Let the vines take their time. Because in the end, the most magical gardens aren't those filled with flawless flowers, they're the ones built with heart, where even the smallest salvaged stick finds a place to belong. And who knows? Your garden, like this one, might just become the most peaceful place in the world. Seven Seashell Whisper Corners. In the quiet corners of the European countryside, some gardens don't grow only from seeds, they grow from stories. And often, from the humblest pieces of trash. Walk with us through this enchanting haven, where broken shells, forgotten stones, and wind-kissed driftwood become the beating heart of a space that feels alive with memory. At the entrance, a path unfurls like a fairy tale map, crafted entirely from colored pebbles and tiny crushed seashells. Arranged in concentric rings of soft white, rose pink, and lavender, the path glows under the morning sun. Each step feels gentle and grounding, as if you're walking through a dream woven from coastal breezes and countryside calm. Flanked by lavender bushes and framed with hand-laid driftwood rails, this walkway doesn't just lead, it invites. Further into the garden, the edges of flower beds come to life. Large scallop shells, oyster halves, and spiraled conchs form natural borders. Their textures, once tossed aside, now stand proud, embracing tufts of lemon balm, mint, and blooming pansies in hues of violet and gold. A soft chime whispers from above, a handmade jellyfish mobile swaying lightly in the wind, its body formed from upturned clam shells and carved spoons. It doesn't just decorate, it sings the song of the sea. In one quiet patch beside a sun-warmed wall, shells become mandalas. Tiny mosaics, carefully arranged from mussel shells, snail homes, and fragments of pearlescent clams, decorate the soil like constellations. Some are fixed on the stone itself, as if the wall was once part of an ancient shore now blooming with thyme and oregano. A sparrow flutters near a bird bath, inspecting the glistening pattern of one of the mosaics, proof that even nature approves of this recycled beauty. None of this was bought. It was built, with care, intention, and a gentle respect for the earth. The secret? Looking at what you already have, and asking what else it could become. That chipped shell from a beach walk? It could be a border. The driftwood from a stormy tide? A fence, a swing, or a bench. The leftover gravel, the shards of broken ceramic, even bottle caps, they all have stories waiting to be retold through your hands. This garden whispers to us that magic doesn't always come from grand designs or expensive tools. Sometimes, it starts with the courage to look at what others call trash and see instead the soul of something timeless. So next time you walk past a broken shell or an old garden pot, pause. Hold it up to the light. Listen closely. You just might hear the beginning of your own fairy tale corner. Eight, vintage suitcase planters. There are stories in the quiet corners of a garden, some whispered by wind, others told by objects long forgotten. And then, there are stories that bloom. This is one of them. In a hidden patch of a European garden, where the scent of rosemary meets the hush of old lace curtains, something unexpected catches the eye, a row of time-worn suitcases, repurposed, reborn, and now overflowing with life. Once tossed aside in attics or flea markets, these vintage travel companions have been lovingly transformed into planters. No longer chasing destinations, they now anchor themselves in one place, offering a home to pansies, tulips, mint, and ivy. Their handles, once clutched by travelers' hands, now frame bursts of color and fragrant herbs. It's as if they've unpacked not belongings, but beauty. One suitcase sits proudly beneath a cherry tree, sunlight dancing across its brass clasps. Within it, vibrant violas stretch toward the sky, while ivy trails gently down like spilled secrets. A tiny garden gnome watches over the blooms, nestled between wild strawberries and childhood memories. Nearby, a floral suitcase, once lined with dreams and dresses, now cradles fresh mint and chives, basking in the amber light of a late afternoon sun. A teacup rests beside it, catching raindrops and the reflection of a daisy. Here, everything feels soft, slow, and deeply personal. And then, the magic multiplies, a lineup of mismatched luggage on a mossy stone wall, each bursting with tulips, marigolds, and forget-me-nots. The colors sing. A cat naps in the shade. Grapevines climb lazily behind them. The scene doesn't shout, it hums, inviting anyone who passes to pause, breathe, and imagine. And that's the real magic. This isn't just garden decor. It's a soulful reinvention of waste. These suitcases didn't end up in landfills, they became vessels for life. And the best part? You can do this too. With just a little imagination, some soil, and the willingness to give forgotten things a second chance, you can turn your garden into a patchwork of stories. Look for old luggage, drill a few drainage holes, fill it with rich soil, and plant whatever brings you joy, herbs, flowers, trailing vines, or even strawberries. Let each piece reflect a mood, a memory, a dream you once packed away and are ready to rediscover. This isn't just a design idea. It's a quiet rebellion against waste. A celebration of nostalgia. A garden that doesn't just grow, it remembers. So next time you see an old suitcase gathering dust, don't walk past it. Bring it home. Let it bloom. Let it tell a new story. One that's worth sharing, one that just might inspire others to see trash a little differently. Nine. Porcelain patch mosaic. Some gardens bloom from seeds. Others bloom from memory. In a little corner of the world, perhaps not far from yours, a forgotten stack of chipped porcelain found new purpose. Not in a museum, not in a landfill, but in a garden, a magical, handmade sanctuary crafted from remnants of the past. Here, an old tree stump is reborn as a fairy tale table, its surface dancing with blue and white porcelain fragments. Look closely, each shard holds a whisper of another life. A tea party, a dinner gathering, a quiet cup shared between friends. Now, under a canopy of grapevines and the hum of bees, it becomes a gathering place once more. The cracks are filled with golden grout, and instead of flaws, they speak of history, stitched together with intention and care. Wander down the path, and you'll find yourself stepping gently across circular stones, each one inlaid with tiny mosaic pieces of once broken plates. Roses, stripes, feathers, even tiny birds, every step a patchwork poem of pattern and color. Between the stones, lemon balm stretches its leaves, lavender brushes against your legs, and you feel something shift, as if you're walking across time itself. And beneath a fruiting plum tree, a quiet bench awaits. Made from rough timber and dressed in porcelain roses, it's more than a seat, it's a moment held still. The plates on its backrest shimmer in soft pinks and golds, catching the late summer sun. Nearby, a basket of peaches glows with warmth, and two small birds perch above, as if admiring the craftsmanship. This is not just design. This is intention, stitched together with broken beauty. And you, yes, you, can do this too. You don't need new materials. You need memory. You need stories. You need a few pieces of what once was, and the will to shape what could be. Broken plates from a flea market. A cracked teacup too pretty to throw. A stump from an old tree cut down last spring. Use them. Arrange them. Let their imperfections shine. Use tile adhesive or cement mix to secure the porcelain onto wood or stepping stones. Fill the gaps with sanded grout. Choose a color that glows or fades, depending on the story you wish to tell. Let it cure, then seal it with love. This garden was not built in haste. It was not built from money. It was built from heart. So the next time you hold a broken dish in your hands, ask yourself, not should I throw this away, but rather, where in my garden does this belong? Because in the quiet corners of our lives, beauty doesn't always arrive whole. Sometimes, the most magical things begin in pieces. Ten. Fairy Fruit Haven. Have you ever stumbled upon a garden so enchanting, so unexpectedly alive, that it feels like it belongs in a storybook? Welcome to a hidden European orchard, built not with wealth, but with wonder. Not with perfection, but with purpose. Every step here is a quiet rebellion against waste, and a celebration of rebirth. In the very first patch, strawberries, raspberries, and blackberries burst with color, thriving in planters that once lived entirely different lives. Rusted tin cans now cradle strawberry blooms. Old enamel buckets once forgotten are now ripe with fruit. Even vintage suitcases, tucked neatly under the vines, have found a second life, overflowing with edible greenery and speckled with curious birds who come and go as they please. Along the path, mosaic stepping stones sparkle with broken tile and mirror fragments, turning every walk into a slow, thoughtful wander. Look closer, and you'll see, the low border fence is crafted from repurposed green glass bottles, catching sunlight like pieces of emerald sea. This isn't just a garden, it's a gentle lesson. That beauty doesn't need to be bought. It can be grown. Venture a little deeper, and you'll find rows of dwarf fruit trees, apples, golden cherries, and orange tomatoes glowing under the midday sun. Their beds are edged with collected seashells, while trellises made from old wood host dancing vines. Here, hanging bottles double as decorative wind chimes or even water catchers. And in the center of it all, a simple wooden table displays baskets filled with the day's harvest, an offering of nature, color, and care. The scene feels like a celebration of generosity, of what happens when we slow down and let the earth respond to our kindness. And then, the path curves again. You find yourself surrounded by citrus trees glowing gold with lemons, and bottle towers rising like glass sculptures among them. Some green bottles are upside down, stacked carefully in towers that shimmer under the sun like castle spires. At their base, vintage luggage holds neat rows of blueberry bushes, flourishing from within like an open secret. A winding brick trail guides your feet forward, but your thoughts linger on what's behind. How can something this magical come from trash? It's a question worth asking. And the answer is one you can hold in your own hands. The key lies in letting go of the idea that trash is worthless. An old suitcase? It's a raised bed waiting to happen. A bottle? A sculpture, a border, a watering tool. Shells, bricks, broken tiles, each can frame the future of your garden. And you don't need to buy anything fancy to begin. You just need vision. And maybe a little courage to try. So next time you think of throwing something away, pause. Imagine a garden where fruit grows out of stories, where the wind rings through bottles, and birds rest beside blooms in metal tins. Imagine a place not far away, but right outside your door. A garden made not with money, but with meaning. And then, go build it. Because somewhere between trash and treasure, you'll find something even more magical. A garden that remembers everything. And blooms because of it. If this video sparked even a single new idea for your garden, let us know in the comments. We read every one. And if you're ready to transform your own backyard into something magical, don't forget to subscribe. More real-life, heart-made, upcycled garden ideas are on the way. Until then, keep dreaming, keep digging, and keep believing in the beauty of second chances. See you in the next one.